Hello and welcome to this MS Dhoni Cricket Academy online level 1 coaches course. I am Mundar Ravi and I am going to be the faculty for batting. Thank you very much for joining us and let's start our topic batting. So, when we talk about batting, what is the first thing which comes in your mind? What are the aims of a batsman? What's the role of a batsman? What all does a batsman do when he goes into bat? What's the first aim of a batsman? The first aim of a batsman is obviously to score runs, isn't it? And in order to score runs consistently, long period of time, as well as more and more runs in the same innings, he also has to stay on the wicket. That's what we say in the cricketing terms, isn't it? So there are the main two aims of a batsman are scoring runs and obviously staying on the wicket. So whenever we think of batting, it's about scoring runs. And in order to score more and more runs, he has to increase the length of his innings by various means like shot selection based on his judgment and the ability to focus again and again and again in order to increase the length of his innings. So these are the basic preparation a batsman requires, isn't it? Let's talk about batting in detail now. Uh, what, according to you, are the fundamentals of batting? If we, I mean to ask is if we divide batting into different parts to know the skill better, what are the fundamentals? First and foremost is the batting setup, which a batsman does every time before he faces a ball. Then comes the shots. Cricketing shots are for coaching purpose and for understanding purpose. We have categorized in two departments: the vertical bat shots and the horizontal bat shots. Right? So these are the batting fundamentals. The setup, which includes three components: grip, which is how to hold the bat; stance, which is how to stand for batting; and backlift, how to lift the bat to play a certain shot. Vertical bat shots comprise of various shots which are played either on the front foot or on the back foot with a vertical bat, which are front foot defense, front foot drive, front foot glance or flicks on the front foot, back foot drive, back foot defense, and back foot leg glance on the back foot, as well as stepping out and driving, stepping out of the crease and driving. So these are the vertical bat shots. Uh, After that comes the horizontal bat shots, which are also called power shots, because more and more power is involved uh, while playing those shots, and even after playing, they are the more powerful ones. Uh, so, what are the horizontal bat shots? On the front foot, there's only one horizontal bat shot, which is the sweep. After that, we come, we play three more horizontal bat shots on the back foot: the square cut on the off, the pull on the leg side, as well as the hook on the obviously on the leg side as well. So these are the different shots, basic shots, which are going to be discussed in this lecture for level 1 coaches education course. And let's start our first topic, which is the setup, batting setup. So, uh, what are that? What are the techniques? So, like we discussed, the setup comprises of grip, stance, and backlift. So, one by one, let's discuss these three components. First, let's talk about how to hold the bat. Obviously, without holding the bat, you'll not be playing a shot. So what's the correct technique to hold the bat? Is there a technique at all required, or you can hold the bat as you wish? To maximize the percentage of consistency, there is a certain technique which is followed, which using both the hands in a specific way you have to hold the bat on the handle. So let's discuss one by one all the key points. First, on the handle, where to hold the bat. So preferably you have to hold the bat in the center of the handle, neither to at the bottom nor to at the top. So to get optimum power as well as control on the shot, you have to hold the bat in the center of the handle with both your hands together. There should not be a gap in the hands. Both the hands should be gripped together in the center of the handle. Now let's discuss about the positioning of the hands. So in a stance position, when you stand in for batting, your dominant hand always comes at the bottom and your non-dominant hand is on the top. So if you are a right hand batsman, your right hand will come on the bottom and your left hand on the top. Similarly, if you are a left hand batsman, your dominant left hand will come in the bottom and your right hand, which is the non-dominant one, will come on the top. So it is always like that. Now the positioning of the hands, let's start one by one with the bottom hand first. As we all know, but for discussion, if we make a V with your index finger and your thumb of the bottom hand, the center of the V, we have to point it in line with the splice of the bat. As you all know, the joint of the handle is called the splice, which runs through the center of the bat. So we point the V of the bottom hand right in the direction of the splice on the handle. Now the V formed by the top hand, thumb and the index finger has to be placed on the bat between the outside edge and the splice, anywhere between the outside edge and the splice, but both hands together in the center of the handle. So this is the correct position of the V's on a bat. So if I am in a side view, you can see if I am standing in the batting position, they will look something like this. So this is a correct grip. Now about applying pressure on the handle, your bottom hand has to be relaxed and your top hand has to be firm, holding the bat firmly with your non-dominant top hand and the bottom hand a bit relaxed on the handle in the grip. So when you're lifting the bat in the grip, as you can see, the palm is not touching the handle, the palm is off the handle. You are holding the bat in a pen like grip. So this is called a pen grip. So from the back you can see the V is in line with the splice, and from the front you can see the position of my thumb and the fingers is like as if holding a pen. So it's a pen grip of the bottom hand and a firm grip with the top hand on the handle. Okay, let's discuss about, so this is all about grip. I hope you have understood what a grip has to be. First, let us complete all the technical key points and then we are going to discuss variations in different these components. What if there's a variation and the result or consequences of each variation. Okay, so this is how you have to grip a bat. Now let's move on to stance, which is probably the most important one, because stance, as you are standing on your legs, is your foundation. The more stable your foundation, the more balanced you are and better for executing any kind of shot. So how has the stance, how should a stance be? Now we all know is that everybody knows, every cricketer is practicing that since day one of his starting of the game, that in stance both the feet have to be parallel to each other. That's a given. The distance between both the feet has to be as the shoulder width of every individual. So that has been practiced throughout the ages. Traditionally, this is the way the main stance has to be. But in our coaching, uh, MSDCA experts team has uh, you know researched on this stance in modern day cricket in this 21st century, and we have come up with a slightly different theory than the traditional one. So I'm going to explain that to all of you. What we are recommending is, and I'll tell you the reasons behind it. The distance between your feet has to be slightly more, listen carefully, slightly more than your shoulder width. Now you must be able to see it correctly. Again, I'll show it to you. I'm standing with the, the shoulder width distance, and now I am slightly increasing the distance more than my shoulder width. Okay, so but yet the feet have to be parallel to each other. This is the major change which we have come up with in this stance. The distance between feet has to be slightly more than the shoulder width. Now see, slightly is a relative term, so how will you come to know what exactly is the distance you have to increase? So again, to uh, make it more precise, what we are recommending is, after standing with the shoulder width distance, either foot, any one foot width of the shoe has to be increased, just that much. The width of your shoe is generally 3 to 3.5 inches, depending obviously on the height and the size of the foot. But after taking a shoulder width distance, any 1 foot distance is to be increased by the shoe width. That's the distance which you have to increase more than the shoulder width. So that is the distance you should take while standing in the stance position for batting. Okay. Now let's discuss the key points one by one again. Feet have to be parallel to each other. The distance between feet has to be slightly more than the shoulder width, which can be only one shoe width. Okay, and both the toes in one line, being parallel as well as in one line. So if I can show you from the front view, if you are able to see it correctly, I'm standing in line with the leg stump, and both the toes are perfectly in one line. Okay, now comes the second part of stance. After taking the correct distance, you have to flex your knees, both your knees, slightly, and when you're keeping the bat down, you have to tap the bat or touch the bat just beside and behind the back toe. Okay, beside and behind the back toe. In this stance position, as you can see, my knees are flexed. I am not too much bent ahead on the offside, and when I look up in the stance position, my front shoulder is in neutral position, facing straight down the wicket in line with the umpire at the bowling end, and my head is level, head is straight, and eyes are level. So this is how my stance has to be: knees flexed, straighter in the back, shoulder in neutral position facing down the wicket in line with the umpire, head straight and eyes level. So this is my stance. If I can show you from a side view, slightly more distance in my shoe with my feet parallel to each other, toes in one line, knees flexed, bat touching beside and behind the back toe, looking forward, weight distributed evenly, neither on the back foot nor on the front foot, weight balanced perfectly in between both the feet, looking forward with my head straight and my eyes level. So this is how a stance has to be. Okay, so I hope you have understood what the stance needs to be like, and now I'll explain in detail why we have come up with this new theory of increasing the width of the stance slightly more than the shoulder width. Modern day cricket has become faster and more of a power game than the yesteryears. So naturally, young boys and girls who join the academy for the first time, learn cricket, the basics of the game for the first time. Even before joining, they have been watching cricket on TV, which naturally these days are the limited overs version more than the longer format. So the first impression of a young cricketer is to hit the ball and to imitate their role models or players whom they like a lot. So in modern day cricket, at the elite or the advanced level, we all all of us see players, especially the top order, the main batsman, doing an initial movement, some kind of an initial movement to suit their game at the elite level to count. And there's a reason behind having an initial movement, various reasons. So not going too much into technicalities, but the main reason is countering high amount of pace, 135, 140, 150 plus pace. To counter that, uh, these batsmen, elite level batsmen, take a controlled initial movement. But all our youngsters, all our young boys and girls who are not even haven't joined the academy, they are watching the game on TV and getting influenced by that and trying to imitate their uh, role models. And in that process, what happens is they tend to make they tend to commit mistakes unknowingly without knowing any technicalities or the science behind any of the skills. So taking a wrong initial movement is very harmful for your uh, batting technique, as it can make your game biased in certain way and enable you to play very less shots. So that's the main reason to cut short on that initial movement. By increasing the width of the stance, you increase the stability and decrease the mobility. That's what we call in our coaching language. By increasing the width of the stance, you create a more solid foundation, and it will take slightly fraction of a second longer for your footwork to move. So what we are going to teach is synchronize this new stance with the shot making. So this is how and that is how it is important uh, to increase the width of the stance, which makes more stable, so that without taking an initial movement, then you move to play a particular shot. And as we learn, as we in our course, as we learn and discuss this different shots, vertical bat shots as well as horizontal, both on the front foot and back foot, we will surely speak more about having a synchronized movement between this stance and the shot. So to summarize the stance, I will again explain it to you very briefly and precisely. Feet parallel to each other, slightly more distance than your shoulder width, toes in one line. While standing in for batting, tap the bat behind and beside the back foot toe, knees flexed, slightly straighter in back, head straight and eyes level. front shoulder in neutral position, pointing down the wicket in line with the bowling side umpire. So this is the stance. Okay. Now let's move on to the back foot. The back lift of the bat. So as we are, as we spoke about in the grip, the top hand has to be firm. Why the top hand has to be firm, and why not the bottom hand, which is your more dominant hand? The reason behind it is if the dominant hand becomes firm and tighter too early before playing that particular shot, the angle of the bat changes and you may end up playing in a wrong technique, which can result in risk of losing your wicket. So keeping that in mind, in backlift, you have to initiate the backlift with your top hand, not the elbow joint, but the wrist joint. So by initiating the backlift with your wrist joint, if I can show you in the side view, like if I'm not holding the bat with my bottom hand, I have to lift the bat with my top hand wrist by cocking the wrist upwards. So while cocking the wrist upwards, the knuckle of the index finger will face the, the chin. So that's how you have to lift the bat. The bottom hand will only act like a balancing tool, like a seesaw. You know the center of the seesaw, the axle of the seesaw where the seesaw tumbles. So the bottom hand will act like a, just holding the bat lightly. So initiate the backlift with your top hand wrist by cocking it upwards, and as you are lifting the bat, the direction of the bat will be in line somewhere between off stump and second slip. So it can be anywhere between off stump and second slip. And as you lift the bat with your top hand wrist, the bottom of the bat comes closer to the back shoulder, or you can say the back ear of your head, this way. So it has to be cocked with the top hand. So this is how a backlift has to be. We've given a slight margin between keeping it in line with the off stump as well as going slightly across till in line with the second slip. So it can be anywhere in between. So if one particular batsman may have it in line with the off stump, another batsman may have it in line with the first slip or the second slip. So anything is fine. That's the margin which we have given to have individuality. This is very, very important. In batting, it's not about having a same technique for every batsman. We are not going to clone anybody. We are not going to replicate or photocopy anybody. So to keep individuality alive, obviously we are keeping margins. So that is why margin in the top hand grip has also been kept between splice, anywhere between splice and outside edge. Similarly, margin is kept in backlift, but there have to be certain things which should not change. So again, the distance between your feet, the position of the bottom hand V in grip, and the firmness and the relaxed grip of top hand and bottom hand in stance and in backlift. So these things have to be kept in mind while teaching all these things. So this is what is about batting setup, grip, stance and backlift. Yeah. Now, as we have discussed all these three components of batting setup, I will now discuss about what if, like I said earlier, what if there are variations and too many variations which can result in having poor consequences. First, let's talk about errors or variations happening in grip. So, what if somebody is holding the bat too close to the blade, bottom of the handle? What if somebody is holding the bat too close? First and foremost, at junior level, you have to understand and you have to observe the correct size of the bat. So, if somebody is having a larger size for his height, he will not be he will not be able to bat by holding the bat in the center of the handle because the size of the bat is bigger. So naturally, that would be the first reason why, in the first place, that batter is holding the bat at the bottom. But what are the consequences? What are the consequences by holding the bat at the bottom? Your bottom hand gets tighter too early before playing a shot, so you may have more power, but you can have very less control. Okay, so I'll just show I'll just correct myself. By holding the bat at the bottom, you will have good control because you're holding it closer to the blade of the bat. So your maneuverability, that's what we call your improvisation and controlling the bat, will be greater, but very less power. Okay, even though both the hands are closer to the blade, you have very less power. So that's the disadvantage which you have. And let's talk about the other consequences. What if you hold the bat at the top? In that way, you will have a good arch of swing. You can have a very good arch of swing, so the bat speed can increase and you can have more power. But by holding it too far at the top, you will lose out on control. So that's a big disadvantage. You may get more power in the shot by increasing the arch of the swing and the speed of the swing, but you will lose out on control. Uh, Next problem is, let's discuss about the grip. If even if the batsman is holding the bat in the center of the handle, but the position of the bottom hand V is towards the inside edge. Okay, you can see the grip towards the inside edge. You can see it from the front view. It's towards the inside edge. So, what are the consequences? See, when you both the hands are moving to play any kind of shot, the physiology or the physics is such that our hands are facing our body when we are standing. So when they are moving in a sideways manner, the palms are always facing forward. So when I am holding the bat in the correct way, the face of the bat will come straighter. But when it goes to the inside edge, yet my hand is going to come straighter. So what happens is, since I am holding the bat in an incorrect way, the face of the bat closes, and when it comes forward, the angle of the bat is closed, face of the bat is closed, and the ball may end up going more towards the leg side. So even if I want to play it on the offside, the angle of the bat is forcing the ball to go on the leg side. So that's a big disadvantage. Similarly, if the bottom hand grip is towards the outside edge, naturally when the bat comes down, the face will open. So if the face is opening, the ball will go squarer in the area, and if the impact is ahead of the body, the ball will go up, resulting in catches going in the squarer areas. So even if I want to hit a straight drive, the ball, because of the angle of the bat, will go towards the offside more often than not. So these are the more common mistakes happening. Similarly, if the top hand grip is also more rotated towards outside edge or beyond outside edge, okay, so this can also happen. See, any individual can hold the bat any which way he thinks is right for him. So as coaches, we have to correct it. So what if instead of keeping it in between the splice and outside edge, the top hand grip is rotated towards beyond outside edge. In this way, when at the time of impact, see there is no resistance, there is no resistance in the grip from the backside. So at the time of impact, the pressure or the firmness of the top hand may give away, resulting in less control, very less control, and incorrect shot making. So by rotating the hand B to beyond outside edge, you may end up playing very restricted shot making and very less control as well as power. Similarly, if the top hand grip is rotated inwards towards the splice, that's what we call a V upon V grip, both the V's in line with the splice. What may happen is you may end up jabbing at the ball, punching like a boxer punches with his top hand which is in front. So that same action can happen and you may end up jabbing or punching and result in more playing away from the body, square of the wicket, or in front or on the leg side, just jabbing, resulting in restricted shot play as well as losing out on your wickets. So these are the more common errors uh, in grip of positioning of the V's as well as holding the bat in different areas. So yes, let's now look at the stance and look at the common errors in stance. What are the first? Let's discuss what are the key points in stance. As we discussed, we have increased the distance to have more stability. So let's discuss about the distance. So what if the distance is narrower in the stance? More narrower your foundation, more unstable is your structure. So keeping that in mind, if your stance is narrow, there will be very less stable stability, resulting in too early movement. So not steady, the vision will not be steady. If your stance is not steady, your head will not be still and the judgment will hamper, resulting in poor shot selection. So this is the first error if you keep the distance narrow. If you increase the distance too much, more than what is required, very the stance will be too stable, more than required. So footwork will be very slow. So neither increasing too much nor reducing too much is going to help you. That is why optimum distance has to be maintained in stance. So what if the knees are straighter and you are bending in the waist? If your knees are straighter and you are bending too much in the waist, your head will go beyond the line of your toe. Okay, in a correct stance position, as we discussed, by flexing the knees and keeping the back little straighter, your head is in line with the toe. So if I drop a straight line from my chin in my stance position, it is exactly in line with my toes. But if I straighten my knees, my head will go beyond the toe line of the toe, resulting in having an across movement and inviting LBW or playing across the body errors. So stiff knees are going to push your body weight towards the offside and again a hampered stroke play. Okay, if I am completely upright, what may happen? If I am completely upright and holding the bat up in my stance position, that may result in having too stiff body. So movement will be hampered, restricted, as well as will not be smooth enough, synchronized enough to play shots. So too upright stance is also not advisable. Okay, tilted head. Many batsmen early in their developing stage have head tilted So that's a classic example of having an impaired vision or taking time for judgment. The result is when you are watching anything, when you are watching anything, we perceive the vision from both our eyes, which sends signals to our brains. So if my head is tilted, my one eye is watching from the higher height and another eye is watching from a lower height, resulting in different perceptions and confusion or in the brain, and the brain will take a longer time to process what it has received from the eyes and come to any conclusion to give a judgment. So obviously this happens very in a fraction of a second, in a split second as you can say, but still it will result in having slightly more time to judge and come to a conclusion which shot has to be played. So that is the main reason why in stance the head has to be straight and both the eyes have to be leveled so that both the eyes see from the same level. Yeah. Now let's see the errors happening in the backlift. So we spoke about having the backlift in a certain way by doing certain actions. For example, initiating the backlift with your top hand wrist by cocking it upwards, keeping the direction of the bat between off stump and second slip. In backlift, the toe of the bat has to come closer to the body, back shoulder or back ear. These are the more common points. But there is also the timing of the backlift. The backlift, the correct timing has to be synchronized with the delivery stride of a bowler. So in the stance position, I am, the see, tapping of the bat is not backlift. Tapping of the bat is part of the stance. Okay, but getting ready, getting ready to play is the backlift. So you have to lift the bat, you have to time your backlift with the delivery stride of a bowler. So what is the delivery stride? Delivery stride is the front foot landing of a bowler. After he has jumped and landed, his front leg comes to deliver the ball, and that is called the delivery stride. So as soon as the bowler takes his delivery stride, you have to match your backlift with it. So more common errors are, what if your backlift is very later than the delivery stride? So naturally if you are late in lifting the bat, the ball will already be bowled and you will be late in making an impact. You will be late in playing a shot, resulting in obviously a poor stroke play. So this is the first error which can happen. Second error is exactly opposite, too early backlift. Too early backlift will not provide enough power behind the shot, because by lifting the bat you will be holding it for too long up in the air, resulting in having stiff muscles which are holding the bat upwards. So again a poor stroke play will be the result. Next error can be controlling the bat instead of the top hand with the bottom hand. Controlling the bat with the bottom hand, if the bottom hand becomes tighter too early, the result will be more power will be provided earlier than what is required, and the angle of the bat can go upwards, resulting in your shots going too much in the air. Next error is your backlift is beyond second slip, squarish or squarer on the area beyond second slip, third slip, fourth slip or gully. What will happen when the bat comes down? It will come in an angle, resulting in you will be end up you will end up playing across the front foot. If the bat goes to across in the backlift, the downswing will come to across, or second result can happen is, because you are ending up playing across the front foot, the batsman makes an adjustment of bringing the bat in a rotation, not in a straight line to play. So it will end up in a rotationary movement, resulting in ending up playing more face of the bat opening. So that can happen. Next error is, instead of hands keeping close to the body in backlift, your hands going away from the body. What if the hands go away from the body in backlift? The downswing will result in having a gap between bat and your front pad, or in the case of back foot, bat and the body, resulting in playing away from the body. There will be a gap. So in case of an in swing or an incoming delivery, the gap between bat and front pad will result in exposing your stumps, and you can get out bowled. If you are playing on the back foot away from the body, you can end up edging the ball. So these are the more common mistakes. Similarly, as we spoke about bringing the bat more squarer, what may result is, if the bat goes towards leg stump or even towards fine leg, so you will end up playing only in one line, which will be towards offside. So if the ball is coming in, coming straight, or a bowler is bowling right arm round the wicket or left arm over the wicket to you, you will end up playing on a incorrect line. So that is the main reason why the backlift has to be brought from between off stump and the second slip. So these are the more common errors. Uh, so what are the guidelines, or what are the rectification and corrections? Main important factors are to keep your top hand firm, bottom hand relaxed, holding the bat in the center of the handle, keeping your knees flexed in stance, your shoulder in a neutral position, facing down the line, in line with the umpire, initiating the back lift with your top hand wrist by cocking it upwards, the direction of the bat between off stump and second slip, and keep hands closer to your body. So if I can show you from the side view, in the stance position, both my hands are in the center of my body between my thighs, and when I lift it in the back lift, they are staying closer to the body. Neither they are going too far behind, nor they are going ahead. If I can show you from the front view, they are staying closer to my body, not not going away from my body either. Okay, so these are the guidelines which you have to follow. I hope you have understood today's session on batting setup involving grip, stance and backlift. In the next lecture on batting, we'll start discussing about different shots, taking one category at a time. We'll start off with vertical bat shots first, played on the front foot, and moving on to the vertical bat shots played on the back foot. So do practice these techniques, have a feel on your own, which will enable you to have a first hand experience about all these technical key points which we discussed today in this lecture. Let's discuss about stance. Since we spoke about the distance between both the feet needs to be slightly more than than your shoulder width to ensure better stability. What you can do is, you can take a tape, or a chalk, or a chalk powder on the ground is available, or a paint which you mark the creases with while doing a rehearsal practice like a shadow practice. If you are having it on a cemented wicket or an astroturf or indoors, you can use these kind of tapes and stick them just ahead of your toes. After ensuring the correct distance, correct width, you can have small pieces pasted on the ground in front of each batsman. So this becomes very individual. Now, even if I change my position in stance, again whenever I come back and stand in the stance position, the distance will not change. So this is a very easy way at the beginning to teach the batsman to keep equal and same distance while facing each and every ball or while doing the rehearsal practice each and every time. So we have ensured the pointers for the grip as well as the distance between the feet in stance position. Similarly, to check whether your upper body position is straight and the front shoulder is pointing down the wicket is after asking the batsman to stand in the stance, correct stance, and the body position. By not changing the body position, you can just check the bat, hold it closer to the chest, and see whether the handle of the bat is pointing straight. If your shoulder has opened slightly, the body has opened slightly, the handle of the bat will go towards mid on. If it is closed, you are pushing with your front shoulder, the handle of the bat, like the barrel of a gun, will go towards either the bowler or slightly move towards mid off, which you don't want. So to ensure that the body is in side on position, you can ask the batter himself or herself to hold the bat closer to the chest and check where the handle is pointing. It has to be straight down the line towards the umpire. So these are very easy ways to check whether your grip stance are in correct position. Similarly, in stance position, to check the back lift, ask the batter to hold the bat with one hand, with the top hand grip correct, and lift the bat. Practice the bat lifting by cocking the top hand wrist in line with the off stump or between the off stump and the second slip. Initially, you can have this practice in front of the mirror, or if you are doing it on the ground, a partner can stand in front of the batter and cross check the lifting of the bat behind the body in correct line or not. This is a way of ensuring and empowering your players with correct knowledge to have a better understanding of their own batting skills. Keep practicing, keep learning, and thank you very much.